We now have explosive background information about the crypto executive order, straight from the crypto Caesar, David Sachs, who's making some big statements here. And he explains exactly what the crypto regulation is all about, and what's coming our way in the near future. Additionally, there's massive criticism and strong attacks against David Sachs, who's being accused here, to manipulate and bypass a Bitcoin reserve strategy here, and basically push through his shitcoin agenda. Additionally, here comes the climax. The Ripple Foundation is now being accused to actively manipulate Bitcoin, to actively manipulate a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And it's even claimed that the biggest obstacle to a reserve strategy for Bitcoin is the Ripple Foundation. Let's take a look at what that's all about. Parker Lewis is actually accusing David Sachs here, that David Sachs has special interests and is trying to turn the Bitcoin legislation proposed by Senator Lummis into a crypto shitcoin story. He refers to a video from 2021 where David Sachs, along with Jamit Palapahishia, basically wanted to dump Solana on people. In the end, he says that he bought Solana at a huge discount, and now basically that they want to dump it on the community. And of course, he's somehow engaging in market manipulation. That's at least the accusation here, and he's being charged with the same thing now, with that he basically has no Bitcoin interests, but rather that he has very, very big shitcoin interests. And now, he wants to set up a huge shitcoin parade here, and that could obviously harm Bitcoin as well. But before we look at the accusations, let's first take a look at his bullish statements, because he really clarified a lot here. He clarified upcoming Bitcoin regulation, what we can expect, what exactly this is all about with the Bitcoin legislation, or rather, not legislation, but with the Bitcoin regulation, and how this will all play out.
First, let's dive into the bullish statements, and then we'll also address the criticism. Donald Trump said in 2023 that he would stop the fatal agency from targeting the crypto industry. He might be good on that promise today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, President Trump founded his campaign for the first crypto president. He gave a famous talk in Nashville. He describes how he will change crypto regulation. He now focuses on this insurance. He signed the executive order today and formed a group to change crypto regulation. His framework, that's going to encourage innovation and confirms.
Now, first of all, that Donald Trump keeps his promises here, and that in the end this leads to that the innovation is no longer leaving the USA, but rather coming into the country. And Biden was ultimately responsible for this, that a lot of innovation has left the USA. That, of course, also slowed down Bitcoin adoption and ultimately led to that the Bitcoin price was very likely being suppressed.
He didn't precisely and accurately say it in a manner of speaking that way.
But you can definitely take that from the statements. But listen up. The Biden administration wouldn't tell them what the rules of the street were condemned, and what the industry wants more than anything else is regular clarity. They say, just tell us what the rules are and we'll comply. The Biden administration would never do that. All the innovation was on the street, and America is at risk of losing this future technology. And we want this innovation to happen here in the USA. And I think it's going to happen now in the USA, because President Trump has stated that the USA must. World.
So that's an important statement. He's basically making it clear how the United States can become the crypto capital of the whole world. And that's basically really simple. You just need to have a clear regulatory framework. Because right now it was just like this, you wouldn't know, okay, if you do something. If you start a business now, are you a criminal? Are you going to end up in prison like Ross Ulbricht, or are you in the legal space? And when there's that kind of uncertainty, and you don't know if you're going to end up with, you end up with double life sentences in prison, or if it's legal, then you're not going to take any risks here. And now you know clearly, okay, HEY here. There is no central bank digital currency. You know here, okay, there's a right to self-custody. You know, okay, hey, if you have a Bitcoin business, if you want to lend Bitcoin, if you have Bitcoin in your business, if you have Bitcoin here in your balance, it's all totally fine. It's all really cool. If you have Bitcoin in your business, if you have Bitcoin here in your balance, it's all totally fine. It's all really cool. Then can you, as a bank or as an asset manager, and so on, you can just dive right into Bitcoin here. And that's the regulatory clarity. What drives the Bitcoin price in the long run will happen, regardless of whether a stockpile comes or not.
What kind of policies are you looking for?
Yeah, there are a few areas. Market structure, define security, component, digital asset, collectible. So there are a few different categories here. Market structure matters. The second area is stablecoins. I think stablecoins are a really interesting area. They give us the opportunity to increase our international dominance. We can basically create a digital dollar to be used by people around the world. Then we will focus on the national structures. The third area
that we will be looking at is that we evaluate this national stockpile for digital assets. We haven't created it yet, but we will investigate the problem. He then clearly states that the working group will make sure to evaluate this, whether a crypto stockpile will be built here, which cryptocurrencies will be included, whether it will be a Bitcoin-only focus or if it will be a broader crypto focus. We'll also address the criticism later because there has been some massive backlash, because it all looks like this now. Yeah, here he's talking very, very positively and it all sounds good. But if you take a look here, he's definitely got a big shitcoin vibe going on, and it could really escalate. That we might end up seeing a meme coin, let's say Reserve or something like that. But we'll take a look at that in just a moment. What that's all about. Take a look at his last statement here.
Looking at the stockpile, decided to proceed. What you're saying.
That's right. Yeah. We haven't decided to do that yet, but we need to study that.
In the end, that's super important here. He says there isn't a stockpile here yet, or there isn't a reserve or anything like that yet. Everything is just being evaluated right now. That's also what led to a lot of disappointment, where everyone was expecting, okay, Donald Trump is now signing the executive order. We're going to buy 1 million Bitcoins. No, that obviously didn't happen. Instead, we're going to take a look first. It takes half a year, and by then the Bitcoins will be bought. Then it takes another half a year. And until that becomes public, who knows how long it'll take. It'll take another half a year, and then in 2 years, we'll see the news, yeah, the US has somehow bought 5 Bitcoins or something like that. That's basically the worst case scenario that some people are assuming right now. But that's basically what I'm saying here. Additionally, he also says in the next statement, which I'm not going to play for you here, that the development here is going to change very, very quickly now. That means Donald Trump is going to make sure of that. That things are going to change very, very quickly here. The crypto environment, the Bitcoin environment here in the US is going to change positively. That is, as I have said here, it will happen very, very slowly, possibly. He's saying now that this is going to happen very, very quickly. But we need to distinguish here between a stockpile, like a reserve, or holding in the regulatory story. Sure, it could be that the regulatory stuff happens very, very quickly here. With the stockpile, it probably won't happen as quickly as some people have suspected. And a whole lot of people like Dennis Parker are assuming now that the stockpile is going to happen first at the state level, before it happens here at the Donald Trump level, meaning at the complete national level. And now we actually need to take a look at the massive criticism here that exists now regarding David Sachs and the Ripple Foundation, and how there's actually a systematic attempt to prevent a Bitcoin reserve strategy. So we basically have the two camps now. On one side, there's Cynthia Loomis, the one that's all about Bitcoin, which also made the proposal to create a Bitcoin stockpile here. Donald Trump also mentioned in his speech in Nashville that we're basically going to create a Bitcoin stockpile. There was no mention of a crypto stockpile or anything like that. And now there are basically accusations that David Sachs is responsible for this. Here, having brought the shitcoin nonsense into the whole game, and basically influenced Donald Trump and the advisory team and so on. Basically, no Bitcoin. Instead of making an executive order, it's just about making a shitcoin executive order, and to focus on crypto here. And I'll say it again, I have no problem with cryptocurrencies or anything like that, but it's about building a strategic reserve, which cryptocurrencies are truly valuable. Putting them in a reserve strategy is questionable. For example, they don't even claim to be a store of value like a mine coin or something like those Donald Trump coins. And of course, if you put something like that into the reserve strategy, it's definitely very questionable. Florian Kostler is posting here, for example, unfortunately, no Bitcoin reserve for 2025. That's his statement. If anything, there's a shitcoin reserve, but even that I find questionable. But it doesn't really matter for Bitcoin adoption. I actually think it's better if we keep Bitcoin as separate from the state as possible. That's basically the thing. We could potentially see faster adoption if they really go all in on Bitcoin or crypto. But in the long run, it might actually be healthier if the states stay out of it. Although, Of course, Bitcoin is for everyone, and you can't really ban it from anyone, neither a state nor an individual. And Bitcoin is basically open for everyone. And I actually showed you the statement from Parker Lewis earlier, where he kind of references that again, that back in 2022, David Sachs actually wanted to dump the Solana coins on the market, has basically caused manipulations in the market. And there were actually a lot. There are a lot of comments about this where Parker Lewis opened up the whole topic. That David Sachs actually has a certain shitcoin background, and so on. And like I said, everyone has to evaluate that for themselves. How he sees the whole thing. I don't want to take a stance on that, because I don't have enough background on it. But it definitely makes sense that on one hand, there are the Bitcoin forces that want to make a Bitcoin only, want to make history, and now, of course, many are hoping for. Cynthia Loomis is making her mark. And on the other side, there's the crypto. And now we actually have some interesting background on Ripple, because the Ripple Foundation is now being accused to manipulate Bitcoin here, to manipulate a strategic Bitcoin reserve. There have been instances in the past where Greenpeace campaigns, anti-Bitcoin Greenpeace campaigns against Bitcoin were basically funded by the Ripple Foundation. You have to ask yourself, hey, if your thing is so great, why do you have to trash Bitcoin? Pierre Schar actually stirred up quite a bit of trouble here yesterday and today. So why do you have to badmouth Bitcoin? Pierre Schar really stirred up a lot of trouble here yesterday and today. Here in Ikes, because he basically posted here all day about the Ripple Foundation. Basically said here, he is the one who will expose the whole scam and so on. And he's talking here and clearly says that the biggest obstacle to the strategic Bitcoin reserve isn't the Federal Reserve, the Treasury, the banks, or Elizabeth Warren. It's Ripple, XRP. They're doing aggressive lobbying against the strategic Bitcoin reserve law here, showering politicians with millions of dollars, and desperately trying to make it fail. Under both administrations, they did the same thing to attack Bitcoin mining. Obviously, they want to protect their marketing narratives and push for CBDCs that are built on their platform. Because now we really have to be careful what's happening here right now. And here, you really have to pay close attention. Because Ripple is definitely a player here trying to manipulate Bitcoin. And the crazy thing is, the accusation that Ripple is basically trying to push for CBDCs further. And that's why the Ripple Foundation might not like this story very much. That CBDCs are now banned here in the US. Because Ripple's agenda is actually to push through a CBDC coin. So people immediately dug up old articles here, where the Ripple Foundation actually put out a post back in 2022. Here's the key to success for CBDC adoption. And then it's basically about how to push CBDCs forward and stuff like that. Then even Brad Garlinghouse showed up, the CEO or the head, or I don't know, the head of the foundation or whatever you want to call it, CEO, or the head, or I don't know, the foundation or whatever you want to call it. Here, Ripple also got involved in the discussion. And here, Pierre Rochard asks, Brad Garlinghouse, have you ever owned XRP? So did you even buy XRP or have you just been selling it the whole time? And then he just asks, yes or no, I don't need to know how much, but I'm curious if they're urging the government to buy XRP. So he's basically accusing the founder, or the CEO, the head of Ripple, of never having bought XRP, but only ever XRP. They probably dump it on the market, then secretly swap the XRP coins back into Bitcoin somehow. What they're doing is just selling XRP, but acting like they're the boss of XRP and calling on the US to buy it. Here, urging the U.S. to buy Ripple. Not Ripple, but urging the US to bet on XRP. And so on. And that has a huge whiff to it, and then Walker chimes in down below. Why should the U.S. buy XRP when they can just print it themselves? Of course, a very, very important comment, and it really went back and forth here. I'll also link the whole thread down below. There were a lot of people there. Some said, yeah, Pierre Rochard is absolutely right here. Others then said, no, that's all just here. Just a conspiracy theory. Ripple didn't try attacking Bitcoin. Ripple didn't try to manipulate the whole stockpile. And so on. But that definitely has a bit of a sketchy vibe to it. Feel free to let me know in the comments below what you think about it. Because this is already a very, very heated discussion here. Bitcoin, Ripple is being manipulated here. Is it going back and forth, and has it really had millions of views? The whole thing. Tweets here from Pierre Rochard. If you definitely want to buy Bitcoin now, I'll put a link down below for you. Coins, how you can easily, safely, and conveniently buy Bitcoin. Here, with the code Bitcoin, you can get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. You can place limit orders here. Auto Walker transfer. Here you can find savings plans, a lot more. Highly recommended. See you, take care, peace out.